Hi, this is Misha, and it really doesn't get much longer and really doesn't get much heavier, at least in military 20th century terms, than these rifles here. And if you've been following me at all, you probably know what these are. These are Schmidt-Rubens from Switzerland. Now on the main channel, a couple of different times, we've gone over the history of the Schmidt-Rubens straight pull series in 7.5mm. Originally they were 7.5 GP90, which was a round nose bullet, and then they were soon upgraded to 7.5 GP11. So I'm not really going to go into the history. In our main videos, amongst other rifles, you saw the top one here. This is mine. This is a Schmidt-Rubin model 1896-11, or just 96-11. But this one on the bottom here is a model 1911. And don't feel bad if you really can't spot the differences. And the fact that there really aren't many to speak of is why I ultimately only own one, because I don't mind owning variants, but when they look identical, what's the point? Only so much time. Well, originally, the 1896 was chambered for the 7.5 GP90. They would build a little under 140,000, but then they discovered the GP90 really wasn't optimal, so really starting between 1903 and 1913, Waffenfabrik Bern worked on the new cartridge, which became GP11, and then ultimately, of course, had to make guns able to fire it. Now, whereas the older 1889 Schmidt-Rubin was not able to be reworked into the updated 1896, thankfully, the 96 was able to be updated to fire the new cartridge, and that's where this gun started from here. This was originally chambered for the GP90. And what they essentially did, they put on a brand new barrel with new sights for the new round. They also went to a new pattern of 6-round attaching mag, which we first saw actually in the 1905 carbine. They did away with the magazine feed cutoff. For the new magazine, they did have to go to a new trigger guard. And there were some small internal tweaks to the receiver. And of course, replacing worn damaged rifles. One other thing they did, the 1896 pattern, like the 1889 before it, had a straight stock. Well, they actually grafted on this semi-pistol grip right here. You can barely feel, I don't know if you can even see the lines. They did a very smooth job on all these. So they kind of cut the stock back and did that. Really, most of this happened between 1913 1919, with some production of the newer guns going into the 1920s. For the conversions, they would do about 136,000, actually just a few less, but about 136,000 of the old rifles were upgraded, actually only leaving about 1,200 original 1896 is still chambered for GP90. So they basically converted their entire stockpile. But that wasn't enough. So they put new production rifles into service as well. Of course, both would have new barrels. These would have newly made receivers and stocks. So yeah, pretty much the exact same gun, just one is refurbished from an older gun, one is brand new. As a result, we still have a semi-pistol grip here, but of course there's not going to be any edge. It's part of the stock. So the shape is just a little bit different, but not by much. You can see that. One other small difference, like the 1889, the 96 and thus the 9611 has a rounded butt plate with a screw on the top here. And again, the edges are just a little rounded, kind of old school style, and then flared out. When they went to the 1911 stock, a little more modern butt plate styling. No screw directly on top anymore, it's more at the top rear. And then, of course, a second screw down there. And it's still got a little bit of a curve to it, but side to side it's basically flat. So, that's a really easy way to tell a 9611 from a 1911 are the pistol grips and the butt plates. The barrels are going to look the same because they're the same barrel. And the receivers are very similar, except of course serial numbers and maybe some different proof and inspector markings. So yeah, that's why I really don't own both. I kind of like the 9611, even though they don't tend to be quite as nice condition, just because they're unique. I like the older history. They would ultimately end up doing about 127,000 purpose-built 1911 rifles. So the 9611 is slightly more numerous, but not by any significant fraction. There was, of course, the K11 carbine, which was very similar to the 1911 here, but of course scaled down to carbine length and with side sling mounts. And of course these guns would ultimately lead to the K31, which is really technically not a Schmidt-Reuben, but it is a straight pull, and it is Swiss. So, you know how it goes. But I thought while I had both minor variants here, might as well do a little kind of update video on this personal channel. Maybe one day I'll put this on the main channel, but it's not really earth-shattering content, I know. But it's a Sunday night. I figured, why not? Get some long sticks on the table. Well, if you have any questions or comments, do please post them below. As always, if you could like, share, and subscribe, that'd be great. And definitely check out the main page and check out our Swiss playlist if you haven't done so recently. We're all the time adding new Switzerland videos. This is Misha, and I'll catch you very soon next time.